How long have you been laughing at me behind my back? I asked in front of her family. She tried to smile until I dropped the photos of her and her ex on the table. Silence turned into shouting within seconds. And I wonder, if you discovered a betrayal like this, how would you react? Share your thoughts below, and if stories like this keep you hooked, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support means the world. My name is Ethan Ward. I'm 34 years old and I live in Austin, Texas. By day, I'm a project manager for a mid-sized tech company, long hours, lots of deadlines, endless meetings. But I've always thought of myself as steady, dependable, the kind of man who doesn't overreact. I'm the one people call when something breaks at work or at home. I solve problems. That's why, for 3 years, I thought my marriage to Samantha, my 30-year-old wife, was solid. We met at a conference in Dallas. She was in marketing, quick-witted and confident, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and own it. I was quieter, but she said she loved that about me. "You're my calm in the chaos," she used to whisper. For a long time, I believed her. We built a life together, a 2-bedroom condo on the east side of town, dinner with her family almost every Sunday, holiday trips where her parents insisted on paying for upgrades, insisting, "Samantha deserves the best." I didn't mind. They were a close family, a little overbearing at times, but I thought it meant they cared. But cracks appeared. It started small. Samantha's phone always face down on the counter, a smile that flickered too long when she was texting, unexplained work dinners that ended near midnight. I tried to brush it off. Everyone gets busy, right? But then there were the jokes, little digs she'd make with her cousins during family gatherings. One night at her mother's birthday dinner, she laughed with them about how I'm such a spreadsheet nerd who probably schedules romance in Excel. Everyone chuckled. I forced a smile, but when I caught her sister mouthing too far, I knew it wasn't just harmless fun. Then came the moment that changed everything. Her iCloud backup had synced automatically to our shared tablet. I wasn't snooping. I opened it to check flight details for a work trip. But there they were, a series of photos she hadn't meant for me to see. Photos of her and Nathan, her ex from years ago. Him in his faded leather jacket, arm around her, both of them grinning with drinks in hand. Captions under the photos cut like knives. Upgrade? More like babysitter. At least Nathan knows how to have fun. I remember staring at those words until the letters blurred. My wife. The woman who promised me loyalty. Laughing at me, mocking me, calling me boring, while running back to the man who had once dumped her without warning. I didn't shout. I didn't throw the tablet. I didn't even confront her that night. Instead, I printed every photo, every message, every little inside joke she thought was private, and I folded them neatly into an envelope. Because I knew one thing. If Samantha and her family loved putting on a show of perfection, then the truth deserved the brightest stage. That stage came sooner than I expected, at her father's birthday dinner, surrounded by aunts, uncles, cousins, and her parents. And that was the night I asked in front of them all, "How long have you been laughing at me behind my back?" The night I found those photos, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Samantha, listening to her even breathing, while my heart hammered like I'd just run a marathon. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Nathan's hand on her waist, her head tilted toward him, the glow in her smile, the kind of glow I hadn't seen in years. By morning, I knew I couldn't ignore it, but I also knew if I confronted her too early, she'd twist it. Samantha was clever that way. She had this way of laughing when cornered, turning accusations into jokes, making me look paranoid. I needed more than screenshots. I needed context. So I started watching. Her routines shifted. She claimed she had more late nights at the office, more networking events. But her perfume lingered too strongly when she came home, like she'd doused herself to hide another scent. She carried a tote bag she never used before, always zipped tight. One Friday, she said she was having drinks with coworkers. I suggested picking her up afterward. She stiffened. No, it's fine. We might move locations. Don't wait up." That was the first time I felt the full burn of suspicion in my gut. I couldn't just sit at home anymore. I opened our shared tablet again, digging deeper this time. I wasn't proud of it, but I couldn't stop myself. And there it was, calendar invites hidden in a secondary account she hadn't logged out of, lunches with end gym sessions that ended suspiciously close to Nathan's neighborhood. The worst was a photo I hadn't seen the first night. It was blurry, probably taken by someone else. Samantha sitting across from Nathan at a bar, leaning forward with her chin in her hand, laughing in that way she used to laugh with me. His hand rested on the table, close enough that their fingers almost touched. My chest felt like it was caving in. The next day, I drove by the cafe listed on one of her meetings parked across the street. Waited. My coffee went cold before I saw them, Samantha walking out, Nathan trailing just behind her, both smiling at something private. She glanced around nervously, then slid into his car. They didn't kiss, but they didn't need to. Her body language said it all. I followed, keeping distance. His car pulled into an apartment complex across town. They disappeared inside. Hours passed before she came back out alone. She spotted me on the drive home, called, her voice too cheerful. "Hey, I'm stuck at the office. Don't wait for me for dinner." I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles cracked. That night, I started printing everything. The messages, the dates, the photos. I bought a manila envelope and slid it all inside. Every lie she told would be preserved in ink and paper. But I didn't stop there. I remembered the snide comments she'd made at family dinners, the way her cousins would smirk when she joked about me being predictable or boring. Were they in on this too? Did they know she was laughing at me behind my back? The thought made my stomach churn. So I waited, kept playing the role of dutiful husband even as bile rose in my throat every time she touched me. I knew there would be a moment, a perfect moment, where the truth would hit harder than any private confrontation ever could. That moment arrived 2 weeks later at her father's birthday dinner. She insisted we attend, big family gathering, the kind where everyone dressed up, toasted with wine, and traded stories around the table. Samantha loved being the center of attention in those settings. I tucked the envelope into my jacket pocket before we left. My hands shook, but not from fear, from anticipation. Because when I finally asked her that question, when I demanded, in front of her entire family, "How long have you been laughing at me behind my back?" I wasn't just going to say it, I was going to show them. The restaurant was one of those polished, family-owned places Samantha's parents adored. Dark wood panels, soft jazz humming in the background, candles flickering in glass holders. A place built for warmth, not warfare. But when we walked in that night, I felt like I was stepping into a courtroom, my jacket pocket heavy with the envelope that held her fate. Her father, Richard, was already seated at the head of the long table. Beside him, her mother fussed with the silverware. Samantha's cousins, aunts, and uncles filled the rest of the seats, laughing and sipping wine. The chatter dimmed as we entered, replaced by the usual chorus of greetings. Samantha beamed. She always loved this stage, the dutiful daughter with the perfect husband. Her hand rested lightly on my arm as we sat down, her smile a mask so convincing I almost believed it myself. Almost. Dinner unfolded like a script. Toasts were made, stories traded. Her father retold the tale of his first job, the one everyone had heard 100 times. Samantha rolled her eyes in that playful way, eliciting laughter from her cousins. I sat there, watching, the anger simmering like a pot about to boil over. Halfway through the meal, Samantha leaned close, her perfume sharp, her whispers sweet. "Relax, you look tense. Smile for Dad's birthday?" I smiled, but not the way she expected. I stood, glass in hand, and cleared my throat. The table fell silent. Eyes turned toward me. For a moment, I let the silence stretch, let the anticipation build until you could almost hear the collective heartbeat of the room. Then I asked it, "How long have you been laughing at me behind my back?" My voice cut through the air like glass shattering. Forks clinked against plates. Someone coughed. Samantha froze, her lips parting into a confused smile. "What are you talking about?" She laughed, nervous. "Honey, sit down. You're embarrassing yourself." I didn't sit. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the envelope. Slowly, deliberately, I tore it open and spread the photos across the table. The blurry bar shot, the cafe meeting, the car parked outside Nathan's apartment. Each one landed like a bomb. Her cousins gasped. Her mother's hand flew to her mouth. Her father's eyes narrowed. Samantha's smile faltered. She tried to grab the photos, but I slammed my palm down on the table, pinning them beneath my hand. "Don't!" I warned, my voice low, shaking with fury. Her uncle broke the silence first. "Samantha, what the hell is this?" "It's not what it looks like," she stammered, her cheeks flushed crimson, her voice rising. "Nathan is just a friend. We meet to talk, that's all. He's been through a rough time. A friend." I barked a laugh. "You call sneaking into his apartment at midnight friendship. You call telling him things about me, things you never say to my face, just a joke." "How long, Samantha? How long have you been mocking me, letting him sit there while you tear me down behind my back?" Voices erupted around the table. Her cousins whispered furiously. Her mother demanded, "Is this true? Tell me this isn't true. I told you. It's not what it looks like." Samantha's voice cracked now. Her eyes darted wildly, searching for an ally. She grabbed for my wrist. "Please, Daniel, don't do this here." I yanked my hand away. "Where else, Samantha? In our kitchen, where you can laugh it off. In our bed while you lie through your teeth. No, here. In front of the family you've been lying to as much as you've been lying to me." Her father finally stood, his chair scraping back, the weight of his presence silencing the table. "Enough," he growled, his gaze locked on Samantha. "Is it true? Were you seeing him behind Daniel's back?" Tears welled in her eyes. She shook her head violently. It wasn't like that. We just talked. I needed someone who understood me, understood you." I spat the words. "You had a husband who stood by you through every setback, every family fight, every late night. And you traded that for whispers with a man who walked out of your life years ago. That's who you want to understand you." Her silence was the loudest answer of all. Her aunt muttered something about shame. Her cousin slammed her glass down. Richard, her father, looked at me with a mix of fury and regret. "Son," he said quietly, "thank you for showing us." "We deserve to know the truth," Samantha's breath hitched. "Dad, please." But he raised a hand, silencing her. The room had turned into a courtroom just as I'd imagined, and she was guilty in the eyes of everyone who mattered. The silence after Richard's words lasted only a heartbeat. Then it detonated. Samantha lunged forward, trying to snatch the photos off the table. "You don't understand. These don't prove anything." Her voice was shrill, almost panicked. I held my ground, my hand pressed firm against the evidence. "They prove enough. They prove every time you lied when you said you were working late. Every time you laughed in my face while texting him behind my back." Her cousin, Julia, slammed her palm on the table. "Oh my God, Samantha, we warned you about this. Everyone told you to stop playing games." "Shut up, Julia," Samantha snapped, her mask slipping. "You've always been jealous of me. You love seeing me fail. Julia stood, her chair toppling backward. "This isn't failing. This is you making a fool out of everyone in this family, your husband, your parents, all of us. Look at yourself." The room fractured into chaos, voices overlapping, accusations hissing from every corner. Samantha's mother sobbed into her napkin, muttering prayers under her breath. Her uncle cursed under his breath, shaking his head. Richard's voice cut through the din. "Enough!" He roared, his fists slamming onto the table so hard the wine glasses rattled. The jazz in the background seemed to die with his command. But Samantha wasn't done. Her eyes, wild and darting, locked on me. "You set this up!" she screamed. "You stalked me! You followed me like some creep with nothing better to do. If you loved me, you'd trust me." "Loved you?" My voice cracked with the sheer disbelief clawing through me. "Love doesn't mean turning a blind eye while you laugh at me with your ex. Love doesn't mean letting you humiliate me while the whole family watches." Her face twisted into fury. With a sudden movement, she grabbed a wine glass and hurled it across the table. It shattered against the wall, red streaks dripping down like blood. Half the table gasped. Her mother screamed, "Jesus, Samantha!" Her father barked, "You've lost your damn mind." "I'm not crazy!" she shrieked, pounding her fists on the table. "You've all always judged me, every single one of you. I finally found someone who gets me, and you can't stand it." Plates clattered as she shoved them aside. A candle tipped over, the wax spilling dangerously close to the tablecloth. Her aunt rushed to snuff it out with a napkin, her face pale with shock. Gets you. I shot back, my anger finally boiling over. Nathan gets you. The man who abandoned you once already. The man who mocks me to my face while you let him. That's who you risked everything for. The dam broke. Everyone was shouting now. Julia calling her a liar. Her uncle telling her she was disgracing the family. Samantha screaming back that they never supported her, that she was tired of living in my shadow. And then she turned on me fully, eyes blazing, lips curled in a snarl. You think you're so perfect, Daniel? You think everyone loves you? You're boring, predictable, safe. That's why Nathan mattered, because he reminded me what it felt like to be alive. The words sliced me open. But before I could respond, Richard's chair scraped loudly against the floor as he stood again. Get out, he said, his voice ice. Samantha blinked. What? Get out. You come into my house on my birthday and disgrace not just your husband, but this family. You throw glasses. You scream like a child. You insult everyone at this table. Get out before I call security to drag you out. She stared at him, aghast, tears welling now, but too late. Dad, you can't. I can. And I will. Don't make me regret ever letting Daniel into this mess. The weight of his words hung heavy, final. Samantha looked around the table for allies. None met her eyes. Her mother sobbed harder, unable to look at her. Julia's arms were crossed, jaw clenched in disgust. Even her cousins shook their heads, shame written across their faces. Her breath hitched as she realized she was truly alone. She grabbed her purse, hands trembling, and stormed toward the door. But before she left, she spun on me one last time, her voice venomous. You'll regret this, Daniel. All of you will regret humiliating me like this. The door slammed so hard behind her that the windows rattled. The restaurant was left in shambles, broken glass on the floor, wine dripping down the wall, plates cracked on the table. And in the center of it all, I stood with the photos still in my hand, my chest heaving, my ears ringing. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Richard sat back down slowly, his eyes fixed on me. Son, he said, his voice weary but steady, you've shown us the truth tonight. Whatever happens next, you won't face it alone. The family murmured in agreement, some nodding, some still shaken, but all united now. I sank back into my chair, exhaustion flooding through me. The war wasn't over. Samantha would come back swinging. But for the first time, I had an army behind me. When Samantha stormed out that night, I thought maybe, just maybe, her shame would be enough to keep her quiet. That she'd lick her wounds in private, disappear into the arms of Nathan, and leave me to rebuild in peace. I was wrong. The first volley came the very next morning. My phone lit up with texts from mutual friends. Bro, Sam's saying you ambushed her in front of everyone. She says you printed fake photos. That true fake photos. She was rewriting history already. By noon, my inbox was flooded. Samantha had blasted a group email to nearly everyone in our circle, her family, mine, our mutual friends. In it, she painted me as a paranoid husband who had created elaborate lies because I couldn't handle her independence. She claimed Nathan was just a confidant, that my fragile ego had twisted their friendship into an affair. And to twist the knife deeper, she included one line that made my blood boil. Daniel has always had control issues. Last night was the breaking point. I refused to be humiliated anymore. Control issues. That was her narrative. If she couldn't deny the evidence, she'd claim I was unstable. That night, she showed up at our apartment, pounding on the door, screaming so loud the neighbors came out. You ruined me in front of my family. Open the damn door. I didn't move. I just watched her from behind the peephole, her face blotched with rage, her fist hammering until her knuckles must have been raw. Fine, she shrieked. If you won't face me, I'll make sure everyone knows who you really are. The next day, she escalated. Social media posts, long, ranting paragraphs about toxic men who gaslight their wives. She didn't mention my name, but everyone knew. The comments flooded with sympathy from her friends. A few even tagged Nathan, praising him for being there for her. It didn't stop there. Samantha called my boss, told him I'd had a breakdown, that I'd caused a scene in a public restaurant. HR pulled me in, awkward and cautious. Thankfully, I'd already prepared. Julia had recorded part of the meltdown on her phone. Plates breaking, Samantha screaming, her father demanding she leave. The moment I showed it, HR's tone shifted immediately. They apologized, said they'd handled the false report. But Samantha wasn't finished. 2 days later, I got a text from her mother. She says you locked her out of the apartment with none of her belongings. That's cruel, Daniel. Whatever happened between you, don't stoop to this. I nearly laughed. She'd taken most of her clothes and makeup weeks ago, moving them to Nathan's. But to her parents, she spun a story of being left destitute. I invited them over. When they walked in, I pointed to the spare room stacked with her boxes, carefully labeled, neatly packed, untouched since the day she left. Her father's face hardened. Her mother whispered, "Oh my God, she lied." That was the crack in her armor. For the first time, her parents saw through her performance. But Samantha wasn't giving up. She switched tactics, tears instead of rage. She called my phone at midnight, sobbing. "Please, Daniel, I made a mistake. Nathan doesn't care about me. He just wanted to hurt you. I don't want him. I want us for a brief second." My heart twisted. I'd loved this woman once. But then I remembered the photos, the laughter behind my back, the glass shattering against the wall. I hung up without a word. The next day, she tried another angle. She went to her father's law office, begging him to mediate between us. Richard called me, his voice grim. "She came in crying, son. Tried to spin a tale about you abusing her. I told her to stop lying before she ruined herself completely." Even he had lost patience, and still, she pushed. She showed up at Julia's house, screaming on the lawn, demanding she delete the video. She tried to corner me outside my office. She even messaged my sister, saying she had proof I was cheating first. Each lie collapsed faster than the last. Every attempt only dug her hole deeper. The final straw came when Samantha, desperate for sympathy, tried to play the victim online again, posting an old picture of us together with the caption, "3 years wasted on someone who never truly loved me." The comments turned against her. People remembered the meltdown, the videos, the way she'd thrown a glass in front of her father. Even her own cousin replied publicly, "Stop embarrassing yourself, Sam. You did this to yourself." That night, as I sat alone in the quiet of our apartment, I realized something. Her war wasn't against me anymore. It was against herself. The more she fought, the more she destroyed what little reputation she had left. And I knew then the real reckoning was still to come. Because if Samantha wanted war, I had one final card to play, and when I laid it down, she wouldn't just lose me, she'd lose everything she thought she could control. The following week, I received an envelope in the mail, no return address. Inside, a stack of printed screenshots, messages between Samantha and Nathan. At first, I thought it was some cruel prank. But as I read, my stomach turned. They weren't just mocking me, they were mocking everyone. Samantha had written to Nathan, "Watch me play them all. Daniel thinks he's exposing me, but soon I'll make him beg me back. His family's pathetic, they eat up every word I say. I can twist them like puppets," Nathan's reply. "Lael, can't believe he actually believed you were working late. When you're with me, you laugh at how clueless he looks." I froze. Someone had sent these to me deliberately. My guess. Julia. She must have found them on Samantha's phone the night of the meltdown, and I knew exactly what to do. That Saturday, Richard invited me back to his house. He wanted to talk about next steps with Samantha, how to legally separate, how to divide property. When I arrived, Samantha was already there, sitting stiffly at the far end of the dining room. Her eyes red, her makeup smeared. "Daniel," Richard said carefully, "your wife has something to say." Samantha sniffled, looking down. I just wanted to apologize for everything. I wasn't myself. I was confused. Nathan manipulated me. I want to make things right." Her voice trembled. For a moment, if I hadn't known better, I might have believed her. But then I placed the envelope on the table. Slowly, deliberately, I spread the screenshots across the polished wood. Her face went ghost white. Richard leaned forward, squinting at the messages. His lips tightened, then thinned into a hard line. "You mocked your husband. You mocked us. You laughed about manipulating your family. Samantha's chair scraped back as she stood suddenly. Those are fake, she shouted. He made them up. Daniel's framing me, but Richard turned to me. Where did these come from? Anonymous delivery, I said evenly. But they match her behavior. Every word, every action, what fits Julia, sitting quietly until now, spoke up. I saw her texting Nathan that night at the restaurant, laughing while she typed. I didn't read the screen, but I saw the smirk. Samantha's hands trembled. You're all against me. This is a setup? No. Richard's voice was cold as stone. This is the truth. The explosion came quick. Samantha lunged across the table, trying to grab the papers. I held them down as she clawed at them, her voice breaking into shrieks. You can't do this to me. You can't make me the villain. Her father stood, towering over her. You've made yourself the villain, Samantha. You betrayed your husband. You disgraced this family, and you've done it all while laughing at us behind our backs. Her mother wept openly. Julia folded her arms, disgust etched on her face. And me. I just sat there, calm, steady, letting Samantha dig her own grave. Finally, Richard raised his hand. Enough. I will not allow you to destroy what's left of this family. Daniel, you have my support in whatever legal action you pursue. Divorce, restraining order, whatever it takes. This ends now. Samantha froze. For the first time, the fight drained out of her. She looked around the table, desperate for even one ally. There were none. Her eyes met mine, wild and pleading. Please. Daniel, don't do this. We can fix it. You still love me. I know you do. I stood slowly, gathering the papers. I loved the person I thought you were. But that person doesn't exist. What's left is someone who laughs at the man who stood by her and spits on the family that tried to welcome her. That's not love. That's cruelty. Her knees buckled and she sank into her chair, sobbing. 2 months later, the divorce was finalized. Samantha tried everything. Delays, lies, false accusations, none of it stuck. Richard's support, Julia's testimony, and the mountain of evidence crushed every attempt. Nathan disappeared from her life too. Word spread that he'd moved to another state, leaving her behind the moment the drama became too much. As for Samantha, she ended up back at her parents' house, but even there she was an outcast. Richard refused to let her live rent-free. Julia barely spoke to her. At family gatherings, her name was whispered like a curse. Meanwhile, my life moved forward. I focused on work, on rebuilding. I found strength in Richard's unexpected loyalty, in Julia's sharp honesty, even in the quiet support of Samantha's mother, who eventually admitted, "We should have seen this sooner." There was no triumphant parade, no fireworks of revenge, just the slow, steady victory of truth over lies. One night, as I packed away the last of Samantha's belongings to ship to her, I found a photo, her and me smiling at a beach years ago before everything. I stared at it for a long time, then tore it in half. I wasn't angry anymore, just free. Epilogue. Months later, Julia invited me to a small family dinner. No shouting this time, no broken glass, just laughter, warmth, and peace. As I looked around the table, Richard telling a long story, Julia rolling her eyes, her mother humming softly in the kitchen, I realized something profound. Revenge hadn't been the letter or the photos, or even Samantha's collapse in front of her family. Revenge was this. Sitting at a table where I was respected, trusted, and valued, while Samantha sat alone in the ruins of the life she destroyed herself. And that, I thought, was justice enough.